The Willie Lynch letter. All praises to the heavenly creator of the universe, the earth, the oceans, the seas, and all that is. This is Revelations.Unveiled. Detroit. Coming back with another commentary on the Willie Lynch letter. I'm going to have to admit it was a profound series for me. Not so much that it was just reading a letter, but the presentations, the work, and the visuals, and the removal of a video, redoing a video, learning experience definitely affected me spiritually. And so this commentary is to give a scriptural, spiritual connection to the letter so that we can understand it in both realms, the physical and spiritual. So, of course, we know through the history that the Willie Lynch letter was a physical programming imposed upon the slave population in the United States. Even though, as I said in the previous commentary, we hold the letter to be totally hypothetical or just made up, but we were addressing the formula and how the formula of that letter still applies to this day. So I hope to navigate through this holy history that people call the Bible and put these precepts upon precepts and follow this line upon line so we can get some understanding, one, of the letter itself and understanding the system, two, how it applies biblically, and then three, not just the biblical application, but us as a people, the application biblically in who we are as a people. So you may want to get a Bible if this commentary gets to you. All praises if it does. And when I say a Bible, I mean get you a standard King James Version 1611, which includes the Apocrypha, or a close to an original King James non-revised version with an additional apocryphal book as well. It's a little red book, costs very inexpensive to pick up or order. So I'm going to give the theme of this commentary: the reason, the result, and the solution. So giving the premise of the letter, the Willie Lynch letter, Let's Make a Slave, we now can give some credence to these subtitles. Let's make a slave. Cardinal principles of making a Negro. And that title, the cardinal principles, as I said, it seems like it's a divine ordination, these principles for making a Negro. So we see that a Negro is an actual creation, something that before this formula was imposed was not a people. It was just a Negro was made. And the breaking process of the African woman, the Negro marriage, the warning given of possible interloping negatives, and control the language. So those are the subheadings of, or the headings of, the outline topics of the letter. And so I'm going to also impose a definition to keep in mind as we get into some of the scriptural applications. The word is reproach. Reproach. Definition: address, and in parentheses, someone in such a way as to express disapproval or disappointment. Another simplified definition: the expression of disapproval or disappointment. So keep that in mind as we begin to work around in this word and see if we can expand what we know, what we think. Hopefully all this is a learning process, and we're going to go to the word of the heavenly creation to start our understanding. So we will begin in the book of Exodus, chapter 19 and verse 5. This is after the Creator brought the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt and was preparing them to receive the holy commandments. And so here is what he is saying to the children of Israel. This is going to set up the reason for the Willie Lynch letter. Verse 5 of chapter 19. Now, therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. So that was a message that the Lord gave to Moses to bring to the children of Israel. They would be a peculiar treasure to the Lord himself above all people on the earth, and they would be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. So that's going to set the premise for this commentary. We're dealing with the nation of Israel being brought out of the land of Egypt, their first captivity. The Lord explaining to them who they are to him, and if they obey him, they will be a kingdom or his earthly representation. And then we move to Exodus 20. And this is the beginning of the holy law being given to the children. We're going to start at verse 20 of the 20th chapter. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord your God, which have brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me. Pretty clear. So the congregation of Israel knew who God was and what he did for them and he was getting ready to lay down the law. And a side note, I have to go there. Most people think that the Lord gave the children of Israel 10 commandments. No, he did not. This is why people say there was only 10 commandments. So the Lord came down on the Mount of Sinai, and the mountain began to burn and envelop itself in smoke, and it was thundering and lightning. And as the voice of the Lord emerged out of those clouds and flames, it was like a blaring trumpet, and it frightened the people. The people were afraid. And after he gave the first 10 laws directly from his own mouth, this is what happened. And all the people saw the thunderings and lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood far off. And they said unto Moses, speak you with us, and we will hear. But let not God speak with us, lest we die. And Moses said unto the people, fear not, for God is come to prove you, and that his fear may be before your face, that you sin not. So the Lord dropping the word on the congregation of Israel was so magnificent, so beyond imagination, so loud, so dramatic. They had to depart. It was too intense for them to continue with the Lord speaking to them directly. So now we move over to the book of Deuteronomy, and we'll primarily be studying some of the most of the book of Deuteronomy. But in this verse, we're going to establish who the children of Israel are directly to the Lord. Chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art a holy people unto the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because you were more in number than any people, for you were the fewest. But because the Lord loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, hath the Lord brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondsmen slavery, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. So the nation of Israel, the 12 tribes, are a holy, special people unto the Lord. So that is going to be kept in mind, because that is what it is. And to submit the statement about Israel's status, we will go over to the book of Joel, still Old Testament, chapter 2 and verse 27. And you shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord your God, and none else, and my people shall never be ashamed. That's kind of clear about some things. I'm gonna read that again. Joel 2:27. And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord your God, and none else, and my people shall never be ashamed. That's it's kind of intense, you know. If you go and you find that verse and you read it, let that marinate, because that's telling a lot of information. When you think about religion and, you know, how many people read the Bible, study the Bible, have read the Bible, want to learn the Bible, they get to that verse right there, and they got to ask some questions, you know. Say it right there that, you know, he's in the middle of Israel, and he is their God and none else. So that's kind of, that's clarifying. And so now we'll tie the next precept to that. And now we're going to start getting to some of the meat, moving toward reason, moving toward result. So let's see. This is the book of Amos, chapter 3, verse 1. Hear this word that the Lord hath spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for your iniquities. And if anybody fuzzy on the word iniquities, iniquities means sin. Sin means breaking the laws that the Lord told the children of Israel to keep. And so now we are going to make a quick pit stop. You get in this word, the Lord start talking to you, and things start popping up, and you have to go to it and let the word of the Lord speak. We are talking about the Willie Lynch letter, but we are talking about the children, the descendants of the slaves, those in captivity, the descendants of the people who were conquered and colonized. They suffered the same programming as those in captivity. Captivity is captivity. Conquered, colonized, captivity. The three C's, all of the same. And so the pit stop was, or is, in the book of Psalms, written by King David. And this is Psalms 147, verse 19 and 20. He showed his word to Jacob, his statutes and judgments unto Israel. He hath not dealt so with any nation. And as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise you, the Lord. That's another one of those clearly defined statements in Scripture where he said he showed his word to Jacob. Jacob's name was changed to Israel. The statutes, the laws, and the judgments, the penalties of those laws unto Israel. Said he hath not dealt so. He hasn't dealt so with any nation. Wow. So outside of Israel, the Lord has not dealt with them in terms of his word, his law, and the judgments of that. And the other nations have not known those judgments, statutes, and the word. I'll read that again. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He hath not dealt so with any nation. And as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord. All right. That's going to be what that is. And this word, this is the Lord speaking. So that's what that is. And so now we're going to go over to the book of Deuteronomy. And there was the covenant cemented. The covenant or the marriage between the Lord Heavenly Creator and the nation of Israel itself. So, going to start at Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 1. So here is the sealing of the covenant. Chapter 28, verse 1, the book of Deuteronomy. And it shall come to pass that if you shall listen diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord your God will set you on high above all nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come on you and overtake you if you shall listen to the voice of the Lord your God. Pretty simple and clear. Brother Moses said, hey, children of Israel, it's going to come to pass if y'all listen to these laws, statutes, and commandments diligently and do them, you will be blessed above all people on the earth. The Lord in this book is telling you, okay, I have a people. Their name is Israel. I am giving them laws and statutes and commandments on how to operate. I am in the middle of them. I'm their God. I'm none else. If they do what they're supposed to do, they'll be the greatest nation. And let's see. So from 28, verse 3 to 28, verse 14, are blessings Israel will receive for being obedient. Verse 15, but it shall come to pass, if you will not listen unto the voice of the Lord your God, to observe, to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon you and overtake you. That verse scared me a little bit. So, yeah. I have to read it again. It scared me, but I'm going to read it again. But it shall come to pass, if you will not listen unto the voice of the Lord your God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command you this day, that all these curses shall come upon you and overtake you. All right, we're going to get back to that. So we have blessings on the table, curses on the table. Listen to the Lord is good. Not listen to the Lord is bad. Okay. So we're going to now go over to one of our holy brothers, Brother Daniel. And we're going to see, so Daniel had some wonderful information. So as soon as I find Brother Daniel, I will give you that information. And there's Brother Daniel. Let's see what Brother Daniel said for us. Okay, Brother Daniel, in the 9th chapter of the 9th verse, let's see what Brother Daniel has told us. To the Lord our God belong mercies and forgiveness, though we have rebelled against him. Neither have we obeyed the voice of our Lord. No. Neither have we obeyed the voice of the Lord our God, to walk in his laws, which he set before us by his servants and prophets. Yeah, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore, the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of God, because we have sinned against him. O Israel, O Israel, Israel, you have sinned against the Lord your God. I wonder if anybody else in the world knows that. If they know who Israel is, if they know about this book. And wow, Israel has transgressed. So the curse was poured upon us, which means we will have to go back to Deuteronomy and find out what the results of this curse is. And remember, we are talking about the Willie Lynch letter. So now the theme has changed. We have a reason, and we know the Willie Lynch letter is The Willie Lynch letter is, I guess, a latter stage of the result. So we will begin at the beginning of the result. What was the result of the curse? So we will start and find out what the result is. Here is the first clue. Precept, Hosea chapter 6, verse 1. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, because you have rejected knowledge. I will also reject you, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing you have forgotten the law of your God, I will also forget your children. Woo. Okay, the curse was poured upon us. We rejected the Lord. We rejected his knowledge. He said we will not be priests to him, and he is going to forget our children. We, the descendants of slaves, and those conquered and colonized, are those children. Okay. All right. So the curses started in Deuteronomy 28. So we're on our way back that way from Hosea. But before we get to Deuteronomy 28, and brother prophet Jeremiah has something to say to us. Let's see. Chapter 17, book of Jeremiah, verse 4. And you, even yourself, shall discontinue from the heritage that I gave you, and I will cause you to serve your enemies in the land which you knowest not, for you have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever. All right. Got to read it again. Jeremiah 17 and 4. And thou, even yourself, shall discontinue from the heritage that I gave you, and I will cause you to serve your enemies in the land which you knowest not, for you have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever. That's what the Lord told Brother Jeremiah to tell us. So the Lord gave us a heritage, and we discontinued from it. And he said we would serve. No, he will cause us to serve our enemies in a land which we didn't know, because we made him mad, which will burn forever. Okay. Talking about the Willie Lynch letter. curse has been poured upon us. We rejected the knowledge of the Lord. He rejected us and our children, and we're going to give up our heritage, and he's going to cause us to serve our enemies in a land we don't know. And we haven't gotten back to the curses yet. Alrighty, so we go into Deuteronomy 28, and let's start at verse 16. Well, I'll go back to 15 because we set them curses off by being disobedient. Okay. So it came to pass. So the prophecy was, it shall come to pass. Now it's on now. It's passing. We're in it. It's here. Curses right now. Okay. So what was the prophecy? But it shall come to pass. This is 28:15 of the book of Deuteronomy. But it shall come to pass if you will not listen unto the voice of the Lord your God, to observe, to do all his commandments and statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. All right. What's the first curse, y'all? It says, well, you know what? The ironic thing about the first curse is, let's pause that for a moment. What did Jeremiah say? We were going to discontinue from our heritage. That is losing your name, your land, your culture, your language, religion. I mean, well, no, not religion. This is not a religion. This is the Lord told us what to do. And so this book, you're going to lose all that, and you're going to serve in the land of your enemies. So let's find out the land of the enemies part. So let's see. We're going to go to verse 68, the last curse. Let's see what the last curse says. And the Lord shall bring thee, the Lord going to bring you into Egypt again. Wait a minute. So the Lord going to send us back to Egypt. But in Egypt, we were slaves. So he said he going to send us back to slave. He said he would. Okay, so Jeremiah say, I will cause thee to serve in the land of thy enemy. So he said he going to send us back to Egypt. And we were slaves in Egypt. So, wow, let's see. He going to send us back to slavery. All right, the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt, or slavery, again, okay, this time, with ships, by the way, hold on, let me start that one over. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. So we going back into slavery on ships this time. So makes sense. Jeremiah, he told Jeremiah, I will cause you to serve in the land of thy enemy. Okay. Gonna hold that verse. I was right in the middle of 68. But I'm gonna go over to 49 and find out about who the enemies may be. So verse 49 of the 28th chapter of Deuteronomy. The Lord shall bring a nation against you from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. Verse 50. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. And he shall eat up the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land until you be destroyed. That's a rough enemy. Doesn't care about the old or the young. It's going to eat up all of the fruit and the cattle of the land. He has the speed of an eagle and has a fierce countenance. Okay, so that's the nation that's coming to get us. Okay, go back to 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. We have never seen our homeland. And there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy thee. Verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. Wood, that's the Christian cross, and stone, that's the Kaaba stone of Islam. And among these nations you shall find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Lord shall give you there a trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind. Went into slavery, fierce nation who flies like the eagle, scattered among all nations, worshiping gods our forefathers didn't know. Verse 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon you and shall pursue you and overtake you until you be destroyed, because you listen not to the voice of the Lord your God, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded you. And they shall be upon you for a sign and a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Because you serve not the Lord your God with joyfulness and gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt you serve your enemies, which the Lord shall send against you in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon your neck until he has destroyed you. Verse 1. Cursed shall you be in the city, and cursed shall you be in the field. Cursed shall be the basket of your store. Cursed shall be the fruit of your body, and the fruit of your land, and the increase of thy cattle and flocks of sheep. Cursed shall you be when you come in, and cursed shall you be when you go out. The Lord shall send upon you, the Lord shall send upon you cursing, vexation, and rebuke in all that you settest your hand to do, until you be destroyed, and until you perish quickly because of the wickedness of your doings, whereby you have forsaken me. The Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto you until he have consumed you from off the land, whether you go to possess. Verse 23, and the heaven that is above your head shall be brass, and the earth that is under shall be iron. We're talking about the Willie Lynch letter. The Lord shall cause you to be smitten before your enemies. You shall go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them. And you shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth, and your carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto all beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. The Lord will smite you with the botch of Egypt, and with the emerods, and with the scab, and with the itch, whereas you can't be healed. The Lord shall smite you with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. And you shall grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in the darkness, and you shall not prosper in your ways, and you shall be only oppressed and spoil evermore, and no man shall save you. You shall betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. You will build a house, and you will not dwell in it. You shall plant a vineyard, and shall not gather the grapes thereof. Your ox shall be slain before your eyes, and you shall not eat of it. Your ass and horse shall be violently taken away from before you, and shall not be restored to you. And your sheep shall be given unto your enemies, and you shall have none to rescue them. Your sons and daughters shall be given unto another people, and your eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in your hand. the fruit of your land, and your labor shall a nation which you don't know will eat up, and you shall only be oppressed and crushed always, so that you shall be mad for the sight of your eyes which you see. And the Lord will smite you in the knees and the legs with a sore botch that cannot be healed, from the sole of thy foot unto the top of thy head. And the Lord shall bring you and your king, which you shall set over you, unto a nation which neither you nor your fathers have known, and there you shall serve other gods, wood and stone. And you shall become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations where the Lord shall lead you. Verse 41, thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but you shall not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. Talking about the Willie Lynch letter. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave, so that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children, whom he shall eat, because he have nothing left him in the siege and in the straitness, wherewith the enemy shall distress thee in all thy gates. And the tender and delicate woman among you, who would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter, and toward her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear, for she shall eat them for want of all things, secretly in the siege and straitness, wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in thy gates. If you will not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that you mayest fear the glorious and fearful name of the Lord your God, then the Lord will make the plagues wonderful, and the plague of your seed, even the great plagues, and of long continuance, and of sore sickness, and of long continuance. Moreover, he will bring upon you all the diseases of Egypt, which you were afraid of, and they shall cleave unto you, and also every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon you until you be destroyed, and you shall be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of heaven for the multitude. because you would not obey the voice of the Lord your God. And it shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to nothing, and you shall be plucked off the land whither thou goest to possess it. 66th verse. And your life shall hang in doubt before you, and you shall fear day and night, and shall have no assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would it God it were evening. And in the evening thou shalt say, would God it were morning. For the fear of your heart, wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. We're talking about the Willie Lynch letter. Black people, Negroes, colored, people of color, Afro-Americans, African-Americans, niggas, those who were conquered and colonized. So these curses, the Lord outlined to Israel. Go to the book of Deuteronomy 28, read the chapter. The Willie Lynch letter is the carnal or the physical earthly manifestation of the curses of the Lord. Let's make a slave. The cardinal principles for making a Negro. The breaking process of the African woman. The Negro marriage. Warning, possible interloping negatives. Control the language. Okay. So the curses were poured upon the nation of Israel. Our heritage was taken from us by the Lord in the priesthood. The Lord sent the nations against us. We were scattered all over the earth with ships. The enemy, through this Willie Lynch letter and through history, has been relentless. So the enemy actually has operated in the perfection of the job that the Lord gave them. The enemies have operated in perfection to the job the Lord gave them to come against and destroy Israel. Man, oh man. So let's see what another one of our brother prophets has to say about what we are dealing with. And I'm a bit, I'm taken aback for, this reading is, get into the word of the Lord, you are going to be affected. My spirit is affected. So I am looking for the book of Zechariah. Wanted to see what he had to say. And I guess I'll go to the table of contents so I can get there. And let's see. Book of Zechariah. And hopefully we can get some insight from Zechariah. What does our brother Zechariah say? We will be visiting 11 and verse 4. Thus saith the Lord, my God, feed the flock of the slaughter, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. And they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. Zechariah 11 chapter verse 4 and 5. Thus saith the Lord, my God, feed the flock of the slaughter, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. And they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord God, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. So we can cut all the Black Lives Matters marches out, all the protests, cut it out. It's done. They don't have nothing to do with no white supremacy or they're better than us, superior, inferior. Out the door. Racism, out the door. We disobeyed our God and brought upon our nation until this very day the curses out of the heavenly Creator's own mouth. And those who possess us slay us and hold themselves not guilty and say blessings to the Lord because they are rich. That is the descendants of slaves and those who were conquered and colonized, current, actual, biblical, scriptural condition, period. And so we have went through the reason, and we are in the result. So the solution, though this next verse coming up may sound simple, we shall see how simple it is and continue on. The Willie Lynch letter. So we will be going over to the book of Chronicles. 2 Chronicles, chapter 7, verse 14. Statement is out of the mouth of the wisest king of our nation, Solomon. And let's see what the wisdom is for a possible solution to our condition. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Second Chronicles, chapter 7, verse 14. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Obviously, we haven't done that. Not sure if we didn't know to do that. That's what we have to do. So let it be done. Maybe when we get on that path, then the Messiah, who is the heavenly word of the Creator, made flesh, will come and perform this promise. Hebrews chapter 8, verse 8. In reference to the Messiah, spoken by Brother Paul. But now hath he obtained a more excellent ministry, by how much also he is the mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. For if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. For finding fault with them, he saith, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. Verse 10. For this is the covenant I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws in their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. O house of Israel, the 12 tribes, the northern kingdom of the 9 tribes of Israel called Ephraim, the southern tribe, the 3 remaining tribes called Judah. A new covenant will be made. We must return to our holy history and read and observe and do all the commandments that our God told us to do, so we can lift this curse up off our nation and our future children, and return to being the peculiar treasure of the Lord, a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. The Willie Lynch letter is just a physical representation of the punishments and curses placed upon us by the Holy Creator for being disobedient to the covenant. There is only one God, and He is the God of Israel. Black, colored, Negro, Afro-American, African-American, niggas, the conquered and colonized. We are the children of Israel. It's time to call Dad, tell him we're sorry, we want to come home, and we will be good. All praises to the Heavenly Creator. Until we get back together again, the Willie Lynch letter, a scriptural understanding. I love you all. This is Revelations.Unveiled.Detroit.